Welcome to Agents Growth Academy. I am your headmaster, Jim Schubert. And if you are looking for ways to improve your branding, marketing, and agency operations, you are in the right place. Folks, I am unbelievably excited today to introduce to you Ryan Tubner. And he is going to talk to us about train like you compete and compete like you train, and why that matters for you and growing your book of business. But before we get to that, one of the things I learned about Ryan ahead of time was that he is a really good storyteller, and I've already experienced that just off mic with him. And one of the things that I think most of you know, I'm writing a book about storytelling in business right now, and one of the things that I've realized is that stories connect us like nothing else when it comes to developing relationships, connecting with people. So I put together kind of a cheat sheet of things that we've used in our agency and that I've seen other insurance agents do that actually make it much more effective to be able to use stories in your sales process and your service process and your relationship building. So if you just go to agentsgrowthacademy.com/stories, you will find a free download that you can get for yourself. And there's even a worksheet that kind of helps you craft stories so that you could literally end up with like a library of all these stories that you can use when you're talking with prospective clients or whoever. So agentsgrowthacademy.com/stories. So my guest today, Ryan Tubner. His insurance career began in 2009 while working primarily with personal lines for Liberty Mutual. He quickly realized, though, that working as an independent agent would give him the flexibility and contacts to serve his personal and commercial clients in the most effective way possible. He works with his clients to build a partnership that will be beneficial to their growth and development. He prides himself on building relationships with and for his clients so they know he will consistently act in their best interest. What a good guy. The business isn't rocket science, he says. We aren't curing any type of cancer or disease. As simple as it is, we are building great relationships with our clients and then matching their needs with an insurance carrier that will fit what they need. In 2016, he was named the Oklahoma Young Agent of the Year, and in 2017 was named the Independent Insurance Agents and Brokers of America National Young Agent of the Year. Super sexy. He even got a belt buckle to commemorate it. And if he's got it, he's going to have to show us that in a second. Ryan and his wife, Beth, have two kids, Dixie, who's 9, and Clancy, who's 4. They also have 3 German Shepherds they train for personal protection, as well as breed. In his off time, Ryan enjoys training dogs, hunting, being outdoors with the family, and watching Dixie compete in gymnastics. Welcome to Agents Growth Academy, Tubi.
Thank you. Yes, everybody calls me Tubi. It's Tubi, Tubner, Tubes. I mean, shoot, I have one of my very dear friends, and he actually is a client of mine too. His dad, I had these sunglasses growing up playing baseball, and they weren't Oakleys. They were just crazy looking sunglasses. So his dad always would. So that name was around a couple of years, but then it drifted. So, but yeah, I answer to almost anything.
That's awesome, man.
But mostly Tubi.
I love it. I love that you're kind of creating a brand too, for like a personal brand. That's actually important. I'm reading a book right now by a newer friend of mine, Chris Tuff, who wrote a book called, his first book was called The Millennial Whisperer, because he's very good at that. And his second book is Save Your Asks, which is all about connecting with people and holding off on asking them anything until you've given first. And on the cover of the book are these bright yellow sunglasses and then him in silhouette, because if you've ever seen him in real life, my wife actually saw him at the airport yesterday, and she texted me, she's like, I just saw Chris Tuff. I was like, how'd you know? She's like, because he's wearing those yellow sunglasses. It's like a brand. So good.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always good to brand yourself. Typically I do wear my belt buckle. However, I don't have it on today. Today is one of the only days that I'm actually wearing my jeans and boots, ready to go to a renewal meeting after this.
Oh, I love it.
I do not have it on, but I really like it.
I love it though when, agents can wear jeans and boots to a renewal meeting. All I got to say is America. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Well, and the good thing is, you're always taught when you get in this business or any sales organization, you don't want to, you want to kind of dress to that client, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why now construction or farm and ranch, I don't like dressing up. I don't like wearing ties.
Yeah.
I'd rather wear jeans, boots, and my shirt and a belt buckle. Call it
Yeah.
good.
I appreciate that. And I think that kind of goes back to relationship building too, is you've got to be on the same level with that person. If you're coming in, and they feel like you're high and mighty because you're wearing a, nice pressed suit, like that's not going to help endear you to them and make them feel like they trust you, right?
No, no. Find a shirt that isn't too wrinkled so I don't have to iron it and look at it in the closet and say, oh, that'll work. And then if it's cold outside, I can throw a vest on and then go out to the renewal meeting.
I love it.
Or go out prospecting or whatever I need to do.
I love it, man. I love it. Getting in there with the people. Well, I asked you off air, if this were a masterclass, what would you name it? And you said, train like you compete, compete like you train. Philosophies of a short redheaded producer from Oklahoma they call Tubi. And the first question I had was, I'm not seeing the red hair.
It would be there. Here's the deal. So I had long hair. The last time I actually could comb my hair, let's say that, comb my hair, was my senior year in high school. It was going into my senior year. My mom said, you cannot shave your head, cut your hair until after your senior pictures. So my senior pictures was someday before my senior year in the morning.
Yeah.
So right after that, shave the head. And I have not looked back since. I love a shave. It's just so much easier. But yes, if the hair grew, you could see red hair.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's part of your brand. I think we've just decided that. It's the belt buckle and the really, really, really short red hair that you can barely see.
Really short. And when this is funny, I once decided, you know what, I'm going to see if I can actually grow a beard. So I tried it. It was awful. It was so bad. I grew it. I think I had it for maybe a year. But then it just, itched. Then it would tickle my nose. And then I just shaved it. With a lot of grays right in here on the chin. But
you and I are of an age, I believe. We graduated college, I think, around the same time. So we must be of an age where the grays are coming in. It's funny. I wasn't sure if I had the right guy when I first got on the call because of the description of the red hair, but also on your LinkedIn profile, that must have been the same 1 year time period where you were growing out a beard, because I think that's what's on your LinkedIn profile.
I think it was. See, there's red hair in that beard.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, so train like you compete like you train. Tell me, was there like an epiphany or a pivotal moment for you in your career where you realized that was important in terms of your business growth?
So yeah, I think there was. So growing up as an athlete, or you're involved in athletics, not necessarily high level athlete like or our daughter is, or just being around athletics. You always hear, hey, you got to train. You got to train hard, compete to win, da, 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 da. And so there's a moment early on in my career. I want to say it was a year or two in it. Maybe 3 years in it. Dixie was maybe 6 months old.
Yeah. And
things hadn't clicked yet for me. I was struggling. Okay, how am I going to make a living for my family?
Yeah.
In there, rocking her to sleep, just looking for jobs, actually.
Yeah.
But then talking to my wife. I was a little down, but I knew at the back of my mind, I was like, if I just stick it out and just continue to chip away and build those relationships and just really get my mind right and understand forms, endorsements, and be confident in training and what I will call my training.
Yeah.
Learn how to qualify leads, how to build those relationships with the owners, the decision makers. And then when I get to a renewal meeting or a new meeting, I'm confident enough in that industry that I know I can get the business because I can build a relationship. That's not an issue. I can go BS with people and build a relationship. The good Lord, that gift of gab or the gift of being able to be outgoing enough to build a relationship. So at that point, going back to putting Dixie asleep, I think that triggered a thought to where, okay, I could probably go to a carrier, be a marketing rep, and make short-term money. It was my revenue at that time substantially. However, one, would I be decision? And two, is it long-term viability?
Yeah.
And at that moment, I was like, and even my wife said, you're not going to want to do that because you're going to regret it. She knows me better than probably anybody else in the world. So that moment right there, I realized, okay, I gotta do something. And I gotta really fight, chip away. And I say chip away because the way Rich and Cartmill is set up, we're 1099 contractors. So as you come
You're all
in, you
1099
can either
contractor. Sorry, you cut out there for a second.
yeah, 1099 contractors. So when you come into Rich and Cartmill, you can either say, I don't want to draw my commissions. I want to just go and get commissions and go on and sell business. Or you can say, I want an X amount of draw a month, and your commissions go to pay that off, obviously. So there was a time my account balance got up to a little too high. And so it was out because at that time, it was almost point to where I couldn't take any more money out. I would have to extend that draw. So I looked at it, and that's what I'm referred to as chip away, do different things, get my mind right, get the training in. So when I go to a competition, meaning renewal meeting or new business meeting, I know I can win that. And then those commissions will chip away at that account balance. So then I can have a long, fruitful career and have fun at it and build those relationships, meet guys like Sean Stewart, or down there in Georgia, like Robbie and Ash and Brooks and Jarrett and Kelly Dean. And I mean, so many people down there and all over. So it's been a great time.
That's awesome.
So that's what I mean by train to compete like you train.
I love it.
And
Do you have any kind of like daily routine or weekly routine that helps you to live that out and make sure that when you're walking into a renewal or even a new business presentation that you're prepared and like you said, and I think this is a key word, confident, to be confident in anything that's kind of a regular cadence for you?
Yeah, I think you got to be confident in everything, dude. That's what we tell Dixie. Dixie, as we've talked about, she's in a high level gymnastics to where she literally has some of the best potential I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that I'm her dad. I mean, if she was bad, I'd tell her. She's not good at ball sports. She's not good at basketball. She's not good at soccer. She's not good at all those ball sports. She's phenomenal at gymnastics. So in the same way we tell her, you got to train like you compete like you train. You're working your tail off every day to go collect those medals. Same thing that I have to think about. I am training every single day. It's learning about new forms, new carriers, new offerings, learning about new opportunities within a current client. that once I get to a renewal meeting, I can win that, retain that business, or um, win the business. So I think just every day telling Dixie, seeing what Dixie goes through, because she's in gymnastics 4.5 hours a day. So once I'm seeing that happen, I know I can do the same. Reading books helps me out. Just learning about some new forms, endorsements, talking to guys that I look up to, and within our agency and outside our agency, see the successes that they have. When you see successes of other people that you can do the same thing, as well as seeing your own successes and seeing that you may be up for the year and you want to continue that. You want to continue meeting goals. That way, that mindset, you got to just continue to train every single day so you can win that business or maintain that business. So you have that confidence. It takes a certain kind of swagger to be an insurance agent. You don't want to be a cocky dude, but if you can be just a confident, well-spoken agent, both on the female producers, the male, both of them have to be confident in order to give that confidence to your customer or prospect to know that you can maintain that business and you can help them out. And building relationships is one of those.
And I'm hearing a lot about education coming out from your end, kind of like that's what really is the biggest driving factor to your success, is just being prepared, basically. I think I read you're a second generation
that is
correct.
Insurance
agent. Who is the first?
Yeah, so Richard Cartmill really puts an emphasis on education, getting your CIC, going to the CPCU, just continue getting that education. We all have to have our continuing ed anyway through our respective states. Why not do it with your CIC or your CRM or your construction risk management certification? It's all that education, because it does prepare you. I could walk into account and I know somebody else is on and I know they're not prepared. I can win that business. I know I can right now. Am I going to do it? Probably not, because they may be a friend. However, if they're not as involved in our association and I know I can still win it, I would go in there because I'm confident in what that business does. And I know our carriers and which ones will write it. And I know who they're with. That's one of the things that I learned early on, is you have to understand and know your competition. You just do. If you read in the past articles, you'll see that Bill Belichick did the same thing. I remember when I first started, one of my mentors, who's now the president of our agency, he showed me an article to where Bill Belichick was talking to a rookie, and asked him a question. That rookie answered it, but then he dug down deeper into that question, and he said, you have to know everything there is about that other team. You have to know their nuances, the ins and outs of how do they play football? What are they going to do? So in the same way, it's with the insurance business. We have to know everything there is about, a competitor that we may be trying to compete with. And more often than not, if you do, and if you know that competition, then you're going to be able to put yourself in a pretty good position to win that piece of business.
So how do you overcome objections then when you get into a situation where you're making a presentation and you think you've done everything you can to prepare, but now here you are at what you thought was, the goal line, and there's a really big defense that's blocking you from making that touchdown?
Probably, that's a great question, because here's why that for me, that's a great question, is when I objection, no matter what it is, it could be a deductible objection. It could be a, hey, we think this is premium objection, which happens probably more 98% of the time. The customer thinks it's too high. And you can just show that customer, hey, this is what we did. This is why we did it. This is why it's this or this premium. I think just standing and having that confidence in yourself, you really can go through and get around any objection. But at the end of the day, if you're competing against 2-3 other people, a client is going to do business with whomever they want to do business with. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
If they are wishy-washy and they don't know if they want to do business with you, but you may be a little bit, you may be able to offer more in terms of service, in terms of just building their and having the relationship with that carrier. But that company or individual wants to do business with somebody else, they're going to do business with somebody else. They're going to find a way to do business with somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fact.
You know, when we talked, so Sean Stewart introduced us because Sean is an awesome guy and he knows awesome people. And one of the things he told me about you was that you're a really good storyteller. And I'm just curious, how do you use storytelling in business? How do you use storytelling to your advantage when you're in a situation where you're making a presentation or you're trying to build a relationship with a client?
I think is one where, I mean, first of all, Sean is a great guy. And I don't know why he said I was the consummate storyteller. I don't believe I am. However, I got a lot of cool stories that I can tell, but it's just based on experience. I mean, it's if you're standing inside a contractor and you say, hey, you know, I write this other guy, this other contractor that they know, or have some sort of experience with them, and you can relate those, have a good relationship with somebody else that they may know, then that might help you out in the long run. Or if you're in a office, and I learned this from a book, I forget what book, but and I try to naturally do this to where if you're in an office and he's of a contractor or whomever, it could be a restaurant guy, I don't know, but wherever you are, if you notice something about, the family, you talk about family, you talk about, if you stole buckhead on the wall, you can talk about hunting, where you get that. I love hunting. So I can tell stories about shooting a mule deer in Montana, driving up almost to Canada to a buddy's house and hunting. I mean, it's storytelling is one to where it just depends on that specific situation. And what pops in your mind at that time. Is it a story about a crazy, cool, bad claim? And you don't want that to happen to that person because it happened to this person. And you don't want that same claim incident to come up. So you tell that story. Is it one of, hey, that's a cool pair of boots. I got these pair of boots there. It just depends on that situation, I think.
Yeah. I love it.
And so
I love it. So one thing I was asking before, and we kind of went in a different direction. Second generation, who was the first for you?
Yes, you're right. We did go in different directions. So Rich and Cartmill, my grandpa, Dick Tubner, came over to Rich and Cartmill in the mid to late 50s, I want to say. So before we were talking about, we are all 1099 contractors.
Yeah.
So all the producers essentially are their own contractor, own our book of business. We all have the same commission split. If I want to move to Atlanta because gymnastics was good down there, and I say, hey, Jim, I want you to buy my book of business, I could do that. Yeah. And it'd be mine to sell, and that, so on and so forth. So he actually started that process and producer agreement back in the 50s. So he was with our agency, sold his book, to another guy in our Tulsa office in 92. From 92 to about 97 was his buyout. But growing up, I knew what he did. I kind of knew what he did. I mean, and when you're 12, you don't really think about insurance.
Yeah.
But as you get older, well, he did pretty good. I know he's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I know you're in the insurance business. My other grandfather was in the insurance business too,
Hmm.
but he was on more of the life annuity, that side.
Yeah.
He even told me, you got to get to the property casualty side. So that's what I did. And so I started out with Liberty, went to another small agency a few months. I don't count my time in the insurance business until I got to Richard Carmel, because I fought it for a little bit because I wanted to kind of make my own way, my own path. But then talking to my wife and thinking about it, it's just, I want to go to Richard Carmel. It really is the best agency out there, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, you're standing on the shoulders of giants. It sounds like I saw that 100-year celebration video that you posted on LinkedIn about the agency, and I think your grandfather was featured in it.
Yes, he was. Funny story on that. So my grandpa finally decided, well, I'm 94 years. I've been at Richard Cartmill for about 64 years now.
Jeez.
I'm chairman of the board. I think I retire.
Yeah.
So he retired completely from Richard Cartmill, from the chairman of our board, in December. And so he moved down to Frisco, Texas, to be with my aunt, and her two girls are down there and their family. It's just easier for him, closer.
Yeah.
And so we tried to convince him to come up for the 100-year party, and we did. We made it work. It was great. And that guy's got so many stories about Richard Cartmill. It is amazing. He are still at 94 years old, that I know we all would love to be that sharp. However, when we introduced him to come up stage, he comes up there, first words out of his mouth, well, this is what's left of Dick Tubner. So it all got a chuckle, but it's one of those things. He was so revered, and still is.
Yeah.
Not only at Richard Cartmill, but in across our industry, our association as well. Richard Cartmill is really fortunate to where my grandpa was the national president of the IIABA in the state of Oklahoma. Since then, we've had 3 others. And the last one we had was Vaughn Graham Sr., which is, he just is retired from the president of our agency. And so that made Richard Cartmill one of the only, and we believe it's the only agency in the nation to where 2 agents served as president of the IIABA.
Wow. That is special, man. That is special. Well, no wonder, even in the video, they talk about him being a legend and and kind of a visionary. So that's awesome. That's super special. And I tell you what, I mean, this is, as we all know, it's the greatest industry in the history of the earth. And
it is.
We're all very blessed to have those giants that went before us. Let's get into some rapid fire questions, and I'm going to bring it back for you to give us some kind of parting advice at the end. What's one piece of technology or software that you cannot live without?
No, I think the common answer would definitely be your phone, but I don't know if that's it. I've always liked, and you can ask people, especially like Lisa and Willimansky up in Michigan. They own Myers, Lombardini, and Lemansky. They're great friends of ours, and I always tell them, man, I'd love to get a flip phone again. It's just less complex. People don't, it's just easier. However, I think if I were to say my phone, I'd love the camera on my phone.
Okay.
And the video. And this is why. The really good cameras, really good video, and I can video Dixie doing gymnastics. I can video me doing some crazy marketing pieces or advertising for the agency or for my business. I can see video our dogs, pictures, and remember those pictures. Go back. I think I like that aspect. If I didn't have my email on there, could I answer it? Yes, it would just be a little delayed.
Yeah.
But just to get pictures, that's one thing I would like. I'd like. There's one. I'll tell you that story real quick if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So we were, golly, we were at a women's gymnastics meet, college OU gymnastics meet, and it was when Maggie Nichols' night at OU. And I remember distinctly, and I kick myself every time. She was about to go. I think she was a few away from going on, I think floor it was. Just they're at Lloyd Noble Center there in Norman. There's a ramp that goes up to the locker room, but the bathrooms were there too. So we were on the floor on that meet, and I was taking Clancy to go to the bathroom because at that time he was 4. I mean, sucker needs to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I was taking him to the bathroom, but it was this picture in my mind that Maggie going up there was a red carpet where the athletes walked down, and she was just sitting at the top of that carpet, turned face the opposite way, just sitting crisscross, just pondering, mentally thinking about that next routine and what she's accomplished. And that was the last time she competed because of the pandemic.
Wow.
They couldn't go to Minnesota. They couldn't compete in the Big 12s. They couldn't compete in nationals. Yeah. So that's why I say my camera, because I wish I took a picture of that.
And to your point of, train like you compete like you train, I bet in that moment she's just visually going over a routine because the best athletes,
she is
visualize right before they go out.
At first, I thought she was her, but no, she goes out there routine. Yeah. And I mean, OU wins it. And in that year, I mean, OU could have won it going away, in my opinion. Yeah. And it was just, I was happy that we could see compete in her last collegiate meet. And because Maggie is one of those girls that, girls like Dixie can look up to, and train like, compete like. And you go back to that, train like you compete like you train. I mean, you see guys growing up, in Georgia. If I look at the guys down there, I'm looking at guys I've met just being involved in the association, like Jarrett, like Sean, like Ash, Robbie, Brooks, guys like that I looked up to, even Will Argo. Yeah. Will, I mean, I met him in Kansas City this past year at that conference. So you have guys and individuals all around that you look up to, that you want to train like, compete like, and win that business like them. So just circling back to that, but totally camera. I like that.
Awesome. One book that you're reading right now or that you've read recently that you want to share with folks?
So what I'm reading right now is Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin.
Okay.
I've read their Extreme Ownership book. I like that the philosophies in there, because you're taking ownership for your actions.
Yeah.
So there, in the insurance business, you may screw up. You may not put an endorsement on there. You may not up the payrolls. You may not add a vehicle. You may just totally royally screw up. But what I've noticed is when you can go to somebody and say, I screwed up, I'm sorry, this is how I'm going to fix it, then you get more respect. And that early on, I just want a piece of business that I've been trying to get after for a while. And they told me to bind it, and I freaked out because they never said anything about this bar either at the time. So I bound that and so in hindsight, I'm glad I did it, because then because I got called out on it. The guy called me and said, what is this? Why do we owe this? And I said, okay, I'll be there tomorrow. And I was actually, it was during hunting season, but I said, I'll be there tomorrow. So I went there, talked about it, went over it and told him I screwed up, not how we do things. And he appreciated that. And it's been great ever since. We've maintained that piece of business, that extreme ownership, and then now reading the dichotomy of leadership, which they also emphasize, they train like you compete like you train.
Yeah.
To where even though it's a book that tells stories from over their time overseas, they also incorporate principles as well, which I like, because then I can see, okay, how would I do that differently? How do I need to train harder, train better, harder? To where when I go in front of a customer or a new business prospect, I have that confidence that I can win that piece of business.
Yeah.
So that book right now, and that I mean, those two books to me are just, for me personally, head and shoulders above every other book that I've read.
Awesome.
They're
Do you
just
read them or do you
so
listen to
good.
them on Audible or both?
I read them because
Yeah.
then I like to highlight
Yeah, me too.
and then go back.
Yeah.
So I'm an
I'll
old school
sometimes I'll
guy to
preview a
where
book on Audible. I'm actually listening to 1 or 2 books on Audible right now, and then if I like it, I'll buy it and I'll go highlight it or mark it up, underline it. Um, and I know if you listen to the show at all, we always give a shout out to Audible because they're a partner, and they've given our audience a free Audible book. If you go to audibletrial.com/grow big, you can get a free book on Audible and
that's
listen to
pretty cool.
listen to that and then test it out and see if it works for you. What's one thing that you would tell younger Ryan if you could today?
Um, golly, it's almost like, it almost goes hand in hand in questions of, do you have any regrets? And clearly I don't. Mainly, and what I do with the when I started, I think I started getting involved too quickly. It worked out for me, but I think I did it backwards. I should have been more cognizant in growing my burst before really getting involved.
Yeah.
However, looking now, it was a good path for me personally, because it taught me not to take things for granted, that things could always be, I don't want to, but it could be more of a struggle, to where I remember building, I remember the sacrifices made. And if I was to where I am now earlier in my career, would I appreciate it that much? And then would I be able to meet the people I've met because I got involved earlier? Would I have met Jarrett or Robbie or Ash or Brooks or Will and Lisa? Would I met him earlier on? And I mean, we travel and do family vacations with Will and Lisa. They're an aunt and uncle to my kids.
Yeah.
So I think I want to say, work smarter on that business. Really be able to qualify the leads. Even if you're going to get involved, go out and conduct your business in a smarter way and not relying on how you started in your sales career and picking up the phone, calling on the phone. Because this insurance industry is more of a relationship built industry. You cannot build a relationship, or it's harder to build a relationship on the phone. It's just hard. You got to do that by going in and talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's one of the biggest reasons I decided to do this. I had a short stint as a high school English teacher, and then my dad asked me to come into it, and I was like, "Oh no, 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 no!" And he said, "No, no, no, no. It's a lot more about people than you thought." And he explained it. I gave it a shot, and here I am 20 years later. So I totally agree with you, man. Yeah, totally. All right, one last question before I get to the last question. If you had the choice between eating hot soup of your choice or hot chocolate and gourmet marshmallows, which would you choose? So soup or hot chocolate and marshmallows?
Well, because I love chocolate so much, I'm probably going to lean toward that chocolate.
Nice.
However, have you ever had chocolate and biscuits and chocolate gravy?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that an
Mind
Oklahoma
blown.
thing?
No, I have no idea. So going back to my buddy that I grew up with, that his dad, well, his mom, when we go over there to stay the night growing up, she'd make us biscuits and chocolate gravy. That chocolate gravy is freaking phenomenal. It is so good. And so I would, when my wife and I think when we were dating or we got engaged, I asked his mom, I said, hey, can you give us that recipe so she can make it for us, please? And she has, and I think every year for my birthday or sometimes she makes this gravy. And it sounds crazy, but it is delicious.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so then are you choosing soup or would you choose the hot chocolate
Oh,
marshmallows?
without a doubt, chocolate.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna send you and your family a special gift from our friends at Mountain Mallow. They're out of Colorado, and they
Nice.
make
Thank you.
the best hot chocolate and gourmet marshmallows. And we've given it to all of our staff as employee appreciation. We've given it out to some of our past guests. Everybody loves it. So,
Awesome. Cannot wait. Thank you.
yeah, my pleasure. You will love it, and I cannot wait for you to receive that and gorge yourself on it.
Heck yeah.
All right, one last question before we wrap it up here. What's one final piece of advice or actionable step that you would leave our audience with?
So I think it's one to where continue to build relationships. I mean, this truly is a relationship build business.
Mm-hmm.
From a commercial client to a personalized client, such a relationship driven business.
Yeah.
Get involved. Get involved in your state association and the national association. I mean, I've met so many people that I can go to and ask advice and see how they would handle and just see what's going on. And they've become great friends
Yeah.
too. Compete, train like you compete, and compete like you train. I mean, it's just a simple sentence, but it just the impact that it can have on you, just substantial.
Awesome.
And so I like that one a lot, as well as we also tell Dixie, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And so it's, when you can get in a hurry, I mean, that's for daily life. I mean, we tell Clancy that too. I mean, when you get in a hurry, you can screw things up too. But if you slow things down, think about an issue you're having with it, or a possible solution that you're thinking about. If you slow it down, then you can come up with it a little bit quicker.
Love it. That's awesome.
So that would be my advice. Just always build those relationships, train your mind, change your attitude. It's a fun business. This really is a fun business to be in. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Yeah. Love it, man. Thank you. Where can people go to connect with you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you if they want to learn more from you?
If you want to see the whole personality of what, go to Instagram at Ryan Tubner.
Sorry, what's
go
the
to the
handle again?
Instagrams at Ryan Tubner. So RyanTeubner. So
Awesome.
just my first name, you'll see me there. My profile pic is now, but if you want to know all things, all personality, everything about me, that's the place to go. You'll see my dogs, the kids, the family. You'll see my interests. You'll see some whiskey on there too. Not gonna lie.
I love it.
You
Yeah,
will
we
see
didn't even
whiskey.
get into that. We're gonna have to talk off air about that because I'm a big whiskey bourbon guy too. So,
you will see your whiskeys. You'll see German Shepherd guns. Insurance stuff. You'll see sweet Apex coolers. I mean, you'll see everything to know about me on Instagram. I do have Facebook. And I do have LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I just don't really use LinkedIn much.
Yeah.
And so it's all on the Instagram.
Awesome, man. Well, stick around with me for a second. But for everybody else out there, so glad that you were with us, Ryan. Thank you very much for being here. And for everybody out there, grow big or go home. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.